Approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I would
Second.
like to, we need a place to put the police report, and I'd like to suggest we do that right after public comment and before we elect officers.
Okay, thank you.
And then you want to tuck Susan right in back of that?
I do, I would like to. And later on, after we organize, I would like to add a couple other, I'd like to give a health officer report somewhere.
Other business?
Other business can be right at the end. Okay. Okay. So Jerry, public comment first, police report.
Yes.
And we also have the Vermont State Police rep here to chime in. So if we could hear public comment, or do you want to do a police report first?
Public comment.
Yes, sir.
Michael Markroft, I'm here to try to address the growing drug and violence problem and occurring at 160 Moses Lane. For the past few years, the co-owner, a 29-year-old woman, has been allowing drugs to flow in and out, bringing along with it a specific group of people who have no regard for law, order, or human life. As time went by, there started to be overdoses. We found multiple needles already laying around, and then a steady stream of addicts and dealers coming in and out. A few months ago, things really began to escalate. New roommates were brought in and a large camper was added to the driveway. A man and his girlfriend moved in the camper who have extensive criminal records, including armed robbery. Since they've moved in, there have been no peace. There are fights happening involving a large group of people and weapons, including firearms. On March 3rd, someone from the trailer opened their back door and fired 7 shots into the embankment aimed directly at my house. You know how close
You're
that
right,
is.
yeah.
If I had been walking on my fence line or my son, we could have been hit. My property actually extends down over to the bank until to the area where they were firing. On March 10th, a large fight broke out around 11 p.m. It was handled by police, and at 4 a.m. the next morning, I woke to a woman screaming for help. I went outside and she said to call 911 because her boyfriend was going to be killed. I could hear multiple people destroying the camper with a billy inside. The attackers were screaming that he was going to die tonight and that they were going to kill him. Eventually, a vehicle was used to destroy the camper further. After 45 minutes, the police showed up and I could hear them yell, "Put the rifle down." They calmed the situation and let everyone go. Last night, I watched as Billy and 2 other gentlemen with Connecticut plates met at the top of Moses Lane. They then went down and a large fight with at least 6 people started. Somewhere during the fight, 1 shot was fired. I immediately ran inside, got my son, brought him to a safest location in my home, and called 911. I know that RPD is doing the best that it can. I honestly feel like the state police have abandoned us. 45 minutes for a call with people getting injured, for them to show up is unacceptable in my opinion. I'm here tonight to ask for help. I've spoken with the co-owner of the property, parents of this woman. He's expressed that there's nothing that he can do. He's just frustrated that law enforcement hasn't cleaned the place up. Being a combat veteran, this is hard, really hard on me. I'm wearing a heart monitor right now because my anxiety has been so bad, to make sure that it's just the anxiety. The hardest part is having to move my son to the center of my home in the hopes that he doesn't get struck with a stray bullet. I know I'm limited. I know we're all limited, but I am asking for your help because I don't know what else to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
You're here for the same.
Yeah, my name's Michael White. I own the property just across the Moses Lane from Mike here. And, you know, it's really distressing for me. You know, I have 5 children, 2 of my own, 3 foster children who are on our property. You know, just yesterday they were out sugaring collecting buckets of sap while all this was going down. And, at this point, I don't feel like I can safely send my kids out in the backyard. And this is Vermont, it's supposed to be safe.
Exactly.
And, I just want to echo, I think Royalton PD has been doing their best. I do wonder how much attention the state police has given to our town. Hearing rumors about the response and the feedback we're getting from dispatchers and like Mike said, this kind of stuff has been going on for a long time. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of real investigation or substantial effort to correct what's going on. And, beyond that, I think when I look at the situation, I think there are good short-term solutions. I understand that the chief of police is going to have an officer maybe posted a little closer by in the short term. But my concern is, that kind of thing is likely not a sustainable solution for our town. And, I think at some level, we need to have a method of addressing these kinds of issues in a more timely manner so that we don't get a point where we're making 911 calls in the middle of the night, waiting 45 minutes for the state police to show up. Our town needs a way of handling this, and I don't know what that is, but I think it needs attention at some level. That's all I have to say.
I appreciate how kind both of you are. It's gotta be brutal. Peter, are you here for that?
No, I let you respond before I make my comments.
I'm just gonna say that I've been in constant contact with our police chief. I mean, I know that I'd be extremely frustrated if it seems like it should be an easy fix. It does. I'm gonna let our chief and the Vermont State Police respond. Personally, I'm going to, but understand that it's an ongoing investigation and there's people's names that we can't bring up in a public meeting. So, but it's we have had a similar situation before and it's painfully long fixes. And but this has already been going on for a long time. So I appreciate how much you've reached out to everybody, Mike, and you've also come in and talked to the police chief today and stuff like that. So it's your approach is really commendable. I hope that we can answer this to your satisfaction. So listen.
Can I just, I know you sent a text over to Mike and Becky last night when the kids were in the backyard. I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
That's it. Sometimes I can't hear if it's a quiet fight, and Martin lets me know, the guy that lives next to him. And when I saw the kids running out last night, I couldn't, I had to.
Thank you.
Luckily, I was able to get a hold of them, so. Absolutely.
Thank you. Oh, Chief, do you want to?
Sure.
Thank you.
So, unfortunately, drug cases are hard. Our statutes don't let us do a lot. I mean, everybody has the right to their rights. So there's certain things we can and can't do. We have to have probable cause to be able to go in somebody's house and search, stuff like that. And a lot of times, and not, this is just in general, not any specific. Sometimes, a lot of times we don't get cooperation with witnesses or, because, and which I understand, they're scared, they don't want to be involved, things like that. So, which takes it longer, to deal with. I mean, we had another, it took 2.5 years before we were able to get, we actually got all the alphabets in there, ATF, FBI, the task force, the state police was a huge help to us in that. But it did take a while before we could build a solid case to get to get that solved. Unfortunately, yes, and in this case, in this instance, this last week, we did make 2 arrests last night. I put a press release out and you probably haven't seen it yet. I just put it out about 20 minutes ago. More charges will be pending from this weekend's, and I'm hoping that some of that will curb some of this ridiculousness. And, you know, we'll just continue to keep, you know, responding to calls. I hope you guys keep calling and reporting things to me so that we can stay on top of it. You know, we're trying to do, I mean, obviously we can't be here every time, every day, every minute of the day. I wish we could. But like I said, this is not, so, and if dispatch calls me, I'm more than welcome to come out. And I've let the state police know that. My response time is a little bit less than theirs, but there's some circumstances I'm not gonna go into by myself, and that was, the other night was one of them. So, it might, I'd wait for the first trooper to come with me or the first closest, so. Luckily, last night, it was a good outcome. We got things quiet down fairly quickly, not unlike Saturday night, which, you know, reignited after a couple of hours, so. You know, I know LT's on, does he have any,
I can come back around with a couple of.
I don't know if anybody else has any online, if they have any.
Raise your hand in the Zoom meeting if you have a question in a minute, but I would love to hear from Vermont State Police if possible.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So the reality of, you know, as much as I would love to say we have the bodies to have people sit in each of the towns, us as an agency cover, as the barracks, we cover 18 towns. We're going in at 2 and we come back on at 8. So from 2 to 8, we're on an on-call status. And who those people are that are on call and where they live will dictate timeliness of calls. We have areas that may take an hour or more for us to get to based on where, you know, who's on call that night or what other calls that are going on. So I hear you on the response time. I wish that I could tell you that I could get people there faster than 45 minutes, even in a life safety situation. But the reality is just statewide, even if I had 10 troopers working that night, which we just aren't having, we run about 3 guys on a shift for 18 towns. After hours, we're on an on-call status. That's been since I've been doing this job in 20 years, and it was like that prior to me coming. So for us as an agency, we're more of a, you know, we respond to life safety issues in towns that have PDs. We work very well with Royalton PD. It's been a great relationship back and forth. So, you know, any chance we can help them with these ongoing investigations, we do. But just in this state, the thought that we can have police at our door in 5 or 10 minutes is just not, like, it's just not where we are. And I don't see that we're going to be there anytime in the future.
So can you give a couple updates on what's like that part of that crew that was there last night? 2 of them were there to move that trailer off the premises permanently. And that came with its own set of issues because at least one of them had an outstanding warrant that took 3 of our, you know, between the incident and that, it took 3 officers well into the night. But I can't say that I guarantee it's gonna get better. I can't tell you that it can't happen in a day or so. But I think the chief has taken over from the Vermont State Police and is going to follow up with every charge possible. So that requires a lot of legwork, and she was already in town working on something else, that was pressing as well. So the good news is we're on it. The bad news is that it had to happen in the first place. But make sure you call Chief first. And if you don't have her number, make sure you get it. It drives me nuts. So go ahead. Anybody else? Chris?
Yeah, I just want to say, we're going to figure this out. Absolutely have our attention. This is something critical to the future of the town. I don't know what the solution is, just as you said, but there's some options. There's some things that we're thinking about trying at our level. There's some communications and understanding at the state judicial level where some of the problem lies in this ROR process that used to not happen. I mean, these kinds of people were not on the street 24 hours after the arrest. And I know it frustrates our law enforcement, and I'll bet it frustrates the VSP too. I don't think they like arresting the same person 15 times, in 6 months. So the state of Vermont is still working on how do we best address the tragedy of drug addiction. It's going to take everybody's head we can do, but there will be things that we can do to mitigate it. And we talked about them before. We didn't have to bring them out of the drawer with a previous challenge, but it may be time now. And the other thing is, I would hope that the board in the future can take this up as with public listening sessions and as a matter of urgency and also decency. What we don't want to do is start emotional matches, because this will get very damaging very quickly. We need to solve the problem objectively, and we need to solve the problem solidly, just as quickly as we can. And we need to do that together. And I think the whole board is committed to this. I don't want to speak for them, but I know this touches all of us greatly.
Thank you, Chris. It affects our business owners as well. It affects every fabric of the community. So
I know, I mean, at this point, it's only a certain amount of time before I sell my house and move.
yeah,
I can't raise my son in this environment.
no, absolutely not. And absolutely not. I get it. I'm sorry it came to this. I'm sorry it rose to this level. I think we're up to it.
I should have approached the board earlier, and I apologize for that.
Oh, no, don't apologize for anything. You're doing the best you can. Chris touched on something with a release on recognizance. Is that the ROR?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes, the ROR.
We tracked one person 38 times in 8 months. 38 times in 1 month, or in 8 months. And so on a weekend, they go to a Bennington judge who they find who knows nothing about this, and bingo, person's out. So, but we have worked, chief has worked really well with the Vermont State Police, and that activity shut down. This is like, it might as well be downtown.
Well, that's part of the problem too, is, I mean, it's for 200 yards from the school. If one of those bullets goes,
oh,
I mean, it's absolutely, could make it into town, could make it to the school. I mean,
a mile, right?
at least, yeah.
Yeah, so. Okay. You're remarkably composed. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm barely holding it together. Trust me. I'm on the edge of losing it all. 'Cause
All right, give us a chance. Give us a chance.
I will.
And don't let it build up. And if anything looks out of line, get in touch with us. Because it's not the community I want to live in either. So. Does somebody has their hand up? Wait.
Yep, it's me. So I was just remembering that in Tunbridge a couple of years ago, there was a group that got together, group of concerned citizens, and I believe some police officers from different places. And the group's name was is it IBP, and I don't remember exactly what the acronym stands for, but I wonder if there's something like that that could be created in our community so that people would have a better understanding of what they might be able to do and what would be not helpful to do. So I just wanted to mention that, that's all.
Thanks, Hoyt.
Mhm.
It's intelligence-based policing.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Would anybody else like, I'm sorry.
Just one more comment, and I don't know, this probably may not be the forum, but you've got a VSP representative here. One of the other concerning things that I saw happen kind of over the weekend was a number of people who complained about the dispatcher response when they called. And it concerns me that, like, I understand they're getting a call for the same thing from multiple people, and I get it can be frustrating for them, but when you have people who are not used to dealing with this stuff, having that kind of interaction with the dispatcher can discourage them from making that call in the future. And, again.
Can you elaborate?
The dispatcher was just disrespectful. I didn't experience it myself, but there were a number of people who did comment that the dispatcher was kind of rude and disrespectful when people were trying to report what was going on. And, I know there's nothing that we here can do, but
No,
that can be
but
fed back to
yeah,
the
that's good
VSP,
feedback.
and that probably needs to be addressed. Because I'm sure there are people that have basically turned off their, knee-jerk reaction to call, and that's probably not a good thing.
Okay, that's good feedback.
Vermont State Police.
Tim,
Yes.
VSP has his hand up.
Please, Mr. Lieutenant.
Well, say if you have any issues with specific things, that you're encountering yourself, right? You call and you have an issue with a dispatcher or a trooper or something yourself, and it's direct information. I always ask to call because we want to deal with those things. We don't know the situation that night with what was going on with it. I don't know that, but I'd rather look into it and find that there was not an issue, or maybe it's a training issue. There's all kinds of things that can be occurring. So what I'll say, if you have a trooper about a complaint about something specific to my personnel, is you can call my office and leave me a message or ask to speak with me if I'm in the office, and I will look into it. Well, I always give you the answer you want to hear, no, but I'll give you what I find and how we can make things better. Because my goal is to make things better with the resources we have. We work well with the PD, so that's a really helpful thing. When we have stuff at night, we communicate with them with their stuff during the day, and same back and forth. So I want to make sure the citizens understand, and what I don't want is you hear it from the person, then you're calling. Like if you personally are experiencing that, like with the dispatcher, the person that had that problem can call me and I will talk to them. And then I'll have the dispatching supervisor look into that. The same thing with any issues with troopers or things they're experienced with investigations.
I'm sorry, go ahead, yes.
Hey, Victoria, maybe we could just get that in the minutes so people would have a reference point if they want it.
Will do.
Thank you.
And Lieutenant, is your contact information on the VSP website?
That's our number, 802-234-9933. It's the main Vermont State Police Royalton phone number. And then if I'm not in the office, they'll put you through to my voicemail and I'll call you back.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else with a hand up? I don't see. I'm sure that you're gonna want some sort of feedback within a few days as to how can your son go outside?
I understand this is a complicated situation. There are a lot of moving parts that need to be addressed, so I'm not gonna leave him at my house alone right now. I brought him to his mother's house while I came here, and he's not gonna go out in the yard or anything like that until I'm gonna have them at my house as little as possible until
Okay.
there's some resolution.
That's terrible. Okay. Michael White, any party comments? Stuart and John? All right. I don't wanna move along if we have any open-ended questions or comments.
Also, thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for joining us this evening.
You're welcome.
Thank
I
you.
want to let people to know that if they have any issues, concerns, or they are seeing stuff that is concerning, they should be calling. And we will respond as needed. I know a lot of times the outcome is not what they think is going to happen, but a lot of times when we get there on scene, it's not necessarily what we're able to collect for evidence as to what they see or hear. So we'll keep pushing forward and doing what we can to help out in responding in emergency situations.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And you have my number, so?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah. You know, if you don't get through or something, call me anytime, even if you, for whatever reason, something, if you forgot something to bring up, call us. Thank you for coming in. Thanks, Chief. All right, Susan, would you like to let us know about your library?
Yes, good evening. First of all, I feel so sorry for that guy. Can everyone hear me?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, great. So my name's Susan Knapp. I live in Tunbridge. And I don't know if anyone has heard of a little free library, but there's about 150,000 little free libraries all over the world. It was started by a guy whose mom was a librarian, and he basically put a nice little wooden box outside of his house, called it a little free library, and always had books that anyone could take. Please stop. Sorry, I've got a 4-year-old talking here. Sorry, let me try a different room. Mia, I got to be able to have 5 minutes here, okay? Sorry about that.
Many of us have had 4-year-olds, don't worry.
3 of them.
Okay, here we go. I'm in a different room. So, that man started the little free library, and it took off. And as I said, there's 150,000 all over the world. And we have a brand new one in downtown Tunbridge, right next to the town office. It's a standalone structure. It's about 2 feet wide, 3 feet high, 1.5 feet deep. And so basically, I contacted our select board and asked for permission to go ahead and find a volunteer to design and build a little free library, and is it okay with them? And they said, absolutely, just show us the design and we'll approve. We want it to look Vermont-y, and you can go ahead and get it done. And as it turns out, the little plot of land right there is actually owned by the church, and they approved of it. And to make a long story short, I found a great builder who volunteered his services. He was a timber frame construction guy and built an absolutely beautiful little free library. And I'm hoping to get some donations to actually reimburse myself for the cost of the materials. So now that that's there and up and running, and it's a wonderful success and absolutely beautiful, I was hoping that we might be able to do one on the green in South Royalton. So there's already a little free library attached to the high school. But I'm hoping to get one somewhere on the green so that people walking by can take books and leave books, and people that may not want to go on to the grounds of a school could go there. So am I at the right place to ask for permission to start this process of looking for a volunteer to design and build a little free library for South Royalton?
We do have a cart by the library, a blue cart that Pam Lavasser maintains with free books, probably 50 or 60 books in it that are relatively
I've
new.
used that. Yeah, and it's popular.
That's wonderful, and I'm so glad, but not everyone goes to the actual library, but tons and tons of people walk through the green and attend events on the green that don't ever actually go over to the cart at the library.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you can, sir.
Let's put this on the agenda, properly warn it. In my experience, the green is almost like hallowed ground in Royalton. And we think very hard about what we're going to do there, even stuff that seems trivial. And I would like before we make a decision, to suggest that we get a broader purview of the town before we set this precedent. And we have time to research it.
I think that's wise.
Very wise.
Susan, not to dismiss, we have a lot of stuff going on with the green coming right up with complexion, not the complexion, but we have some construction going on, and we're gonna have a potentially a small kiosk that that's gonna be part of our sidewalk project for like a town crier type thing. So I want to just, I think Chris Noble's right. We got to take it under some consideration. That's all. It's not a disrespect or trying to push it down the road.
I think,
So-
see the rest into it.
So
Can I
what,
oops, sorry, go ahead.
what can I do to help move the idea along?
We could tell you probably, after we discuss it as an agenda item, just going forward, we have a lot happening in our little town, and we want to do it right.
Okay,
That's all. So I'm just hitting the pause button.
okay. Two things. I was supposed to be an agenda item and was told that I would be, but somehow that, I guess, got forgotten about. I called about this like a month ago, and Miss Paquin said I would be on the agenda tonight.
And you are.
Okay, so we're,
No, like, again, no disrespect. This is usually a reorganization meeting, and with the current situation we have with the Vermont State Police and our police department, it seemed more urgent than this. We're not trying to dismiss it or devalue it. We just want to give it its proper spot.
Yeah.
That's all.
sure.
And if I could add, from my perspective, this would probably going to be, even if it had been, solidly reflected on the agenda, we'd probably ask you what the designs were. We would have taken what your suggestions, as we have, and then we would warn it so more people, because the green in Royalton is almost hallowed ground. And we proceed very carefully with, as full advice and consent of the town before we do anything with it. So it would be at least 2 meetings before we could have, gone yay or nay. I know it
Yeah.
seems a little cumbersome, but when board members have not done that in the past, it turns out less well. So give us a little time to work through it. And one thing that would help, if you have that design that you intend to do, that would be helpful to put on the table, the design, when you would expect to do it, who would care for it, and basically a description of the, the entire process and program that it would come under. That would be helpful.
Yeah, who would take care of it? It's a very big deal. Boy, you have your hand up.
I do. Yeah, thanks, Tim. I just wanted to also make a suggestion for consideration for that, for Susan, for the book, little bookshelf. And that might be over at Vale on the other side of the green, where they have the little food shelf. And in the summer, they have a clothing swap. And I don't know, it's just another option to think about. And it's like right on the green.
Yep.
So-
Thank you.
Can I speak one more time? Mia, give me a minute. So in Tunbridge, what I did was I asked the select board first. And then once they said, yes, go ahead and find your builder and find your design. Then I sought a volunteer to design it. And then I brought that design to the select board to approve of.
Yeah.
So basically I'm starting with you before looking for a builder and a design. Does that make sense?
I think the difference is you put it like on the church's property, which is a fine spot for it. And I know, I've driven past it. This is just a little different to put it on the green because it's the communities. That's I think what we're trying to get to.
Yes.
But if we can pause it for a meeting or so, it would be very helpful for us.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're saying don't seek a volunteer that would come up with a design? Or
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful, the common property, community property that is the green in Royalton. We would need a higher level of assurance that of who's going to mind it than, other private property would. So I think that in order to get a good decision from the board, we would want to know what we're considering before we do it. And if you could do us the, at least a hand sketch, something that gives us an idea and a description of who's going to care for it, and how often they're going to be changed, how they're going to be protected from the weather, birds nest in it, squirrels make a home, all that stuff.
Sure.
We'd want, because it's the green is a jewel in South Royalton's
Yes.
crown, and we watch that thing carefully. So, or the best we
Absolutely.
can. So
Okay, I totally understand, and I can seek out a design and give you a very specific, detailed picture, architect style picture of what I'm talking about, and then we can take
Sure.
it from there. And if that sounds good to everybody, and if anyone is driving through downtown Tunbridge, please stop and just have a look right next to the town office at the style of thing I'm talking about. But
yeah,
I will absolutely
Yeah.
give you a much more detailed.
from my perspective, a picture of that would be sufficient.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, no, Jerry's had his hand up.
I don't think I would vote on it until after we have the sidewalk project, the green gets smaller, we get the kiosk.
Right.
I just don't think I'm ready to do one more thing in the short term.
Yes, Daisy.
Hi, I just wanted to let Susan know that we have books that have been dropped off in the hallway of RBs, and we are in the process of getting rid of DVDs. And we would be more than happy to utilize some shelves in our hallway so she could have some books there.
Thank you, Daisy.
Terrific. I'll stop in and talk to you about that. Thank you.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time. Good luck with your more serious issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. It's time to elect officers.
Is this still a public comment?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, okay, early last summer, I brought to your attention a failed septic system that is adjacent to the stream that
That's-
goes under the road and into the river. I'm
That's-
wondering what the progress and the plan is to fix it.
That's under health officer, and it's gonna be, if you were here in the beginning, it's under other business. We'll take care of it. Hey,
Oh,
that's a health officer issue,
okay. Okay.
so.
That's gonna be.
I appreciate
Yeah, it's
it.
gonna be part of my report.
I would appreciate it if, the fact is that I haven't had any real response from you in all that time.
Right.
And so it's just a little difficult to think that we're letting
I know.
them run into the river.
I get that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. It's time to, I'm gonna take my chair hat off here now, and it's time to elect officers. And, first though, I think we should welcome Stuart to the
Here,
board.
here.
Thank you very much for running and being interested in the board. We appreciate
And
it.
rescuing us on Zoom.
And rescuing
Yes.
us. I would have figured it out. It would have been about 10 o'clock.
Congratulations, Stuart. Good to see you on this side of the video.
Yeah.
Well-run campaign.
Yes. Well-oiled machine.
Yeah, there were a lot of write-ins.
So I would entertain somebody to nominate a chair. Yes, sir.
I would like to nominate Chris Noble as chair for the next year.
I'll second that.
And Chris, do you have a comment about that?
I'm humbled beyond words. I don't think following you would be any glorious task at all. But I also, however we can make this work, I'm happy. I think we've got a really big plate ahead of us with the recent concerns. And then with the fiscal reality and the other things we're going to face and the changes that are coming up, it's going to be it's going to be a big job. It's going to be a big job. So if I can help, I'm happy to do it. But you all know very well what my strengths and my weaknesses are. And once again, I don't really have much to say, although I'm quite surprised. So anyway.
I always think it's good to rotate chairs, share the responsibility. Nothing against him.
No.
You've done a fabulous job.
I was, it's music to my ears and said, when you say you'll do it, and I really appreciate it. And I agree with John that I feel like it should move around a little bit so we could get a little bit slightly different flavor. I was humbled by how much work it is. So, is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. You are taking over.
Did
sir.
that get seconded?
Yes, it did by John.
Thank you, okay.
Well, I'm speechless and humbled by your confidence, and I'll do my utmost to live up to that. And once again, it is a glorious thing that in this thing we call local government, there are still people who will step up to the plate and put themselves at difficulty and challenges to serve the public. So thank you all for doing that. And Tim, you brought us through a really difficult year where we saw a lot of great changes in the local constitution and where the town is going. So thank you so much. Let's see, I guess the next thing is for a vice chair. Who, do I hear a nomination for vice chair?
Jerry, could I nominate Jerry Barstow as vice chair?
You can nominate whoever you like. Is that something you'd be willing? Yes, sir?
As long as Chris doesn't abandon me.
Happened to me on the Friends of the State House.
I would second that.
Thank you, Tim. A motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now the clerk,
I'm opposed.
you're opposed? Okay.
Having one? To be in one.
The clerk is a time-honored tradition, and it's a very, there's surprisingly more to it. Not to the least of which is your own special name tag at the table. If any nomination for clerk?
I nominate Stuart.
I don't think I should accept it at this point. Being brand new, I don't even know what. I don't think I should accept that.
It's not an owner's job. I've had it. The only problem is if Victoria's not here, you've got to take the minutes.
I got it my first year. I think David got it his first year. It's kind of my first, but
And I was clerk my first year as well. It's
I was not clerk my first year. Oh, now it's your turn.
yeah, we'll double up on Jerry.
Would you do it, John?
Yeah, I'll do it again. Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal.
So it's yours to turn down, Stuart. Well,
I prefer Stuart did it.
Then you should second Stuart.
I really didn't know what was involved, so didn't want to step into anything here, but if that's all it is taking minutes when the clerk, the assistant's not here, any other obligations?
Not that I know
So you would do it,
Victoria?
Victoria? Don't try to talk him out of it, Victoria.
No, really, the only thing would be posting the agenda, the physical posting of the agenda or taking the minutes if I'm not available to do it.
Which happens how often?
Not once in the 3 years that I've been here.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Not good, but better.
Better, yes.
Does anybody second the Stuart, or does anybody second?
yeah, I haven't heard a second yet too, so.
of. Did I nominate him?
I'd second it.
Or whatever?
Jerry
That's
did.
Motion
No, I-
made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next, okay, determination of liaison assignments. Any currently serving liaison who would like to change their assignment or upon discussion will maintain the assignments that we have. Any discussion with that?
I would like to maintain it with the highway crew if it's okay. And I would like to maintain my health officer role for 1 more year. I don't know if they or if that makes sense, but I got the paperwork.
You got the paper.
That is extraordinary beyond belief. I am so grateful for that last comment. So, anyway,
Jerry,
highway, all right. I would also like to maintain my liaison with the police department if that's okay with the board, I think that's a particular item of concern with the town, and it is going to be as we mature in our understanding of the challenges we're having and have seen before, which appear just to be coming closer and more difficult. So if I could keep that one at the discretion of the board.
I'm all for it.
All right.
So
Any,
building and grounds? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stay that
You'll
Yeah.
stay that.
unless someone else wants it.
no, we're grateful you're taking it, and with your background, it's an ideal fit too.
What was that, John?
Buildings and grounds.
Thank you.
And Jerry, you transfer station liaison?
I've kind of worked with that and with rescue. What,
Yeah.
would you like to do one of those, Stuart? Actually, either one of them probably would be fine, but not both. Well, I've worked longer with rescue. If you felt like you could work with the transfer station, it doesn't. I'm happy in either direction. Okay, that's fine with me.
Jerry's rescue.
Yeah.
Stuart.
Now, I will continue to do the warrants. And it would just be nice if I could pass that off once in a while. Would you be willing to do that, John?
I can do it if you're not.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the office? I really think that should be either the chair or the vice chair.
Agree.
I mean, like personnel person.
Oh,
I hate
personnel,
HR person.
personnel,
I hate
HR.
personnel.
I think I'll take that on as well, if that's appropriate.
I think that's covered.
Victoria, have we left anything out?
Not that I can think of at the moment. I think we've covered what David was doing. He's going to remain as the deputy health officer, presumably. So it should be all set.
David Bacher?
David, yeah,
Yes.
David,
Okay.
David got
Good.
his stamp of approval from the state. He applied and got it, and he's been excellent. Where I can't be somewhere, he's taken that spot. So I appreciate having another person.
You work well together, so.
Yes.
It seems that when it rains, it pours with the health officer thing. And at one point, I think we had 4 things like piled on at once. It was a lot. Turned out to be a lot of work.
All right, shall we move on to highway matters?
All
Our
right, I got
select
one
board
more.
rules of procedure. I'm
Stuart
quite
had-
comfortable.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
Do we have anybody that's like, community, liaison or voice to the community? One of the things that I heard at, pre-town meeting was there was a lot of discussion about how we're not communicating very well with the public. And I was wondering, is that, would that be, I know we have the columnist in the newspaper and the minutes are posted on the website. But is there any other way we could get more information out, whether it be a blog or a newsletter kind of thing, or not really a newsletter, but
Well, I think,
a report?
may I, Chris?
Certainly.
I think blogs are hard to maintain because they have to be current, because once they, as well as anybody, once there's any lag time, people just dismiss. I think it's super important. I'm glad you brought it up. I do think it is. I think Victoria does a really good job putting things out on social media and on our website. But honestly, we can't do too much. I think you're onto something. Can we figure that out over a little bit of time?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Tim, that's a great idea. And both of you, that's something that we saw that we need to do better. I think there's two things though. One, we have to be very careful that one person doesn't speak for the board. And it's the way Vermont statutes are, when the board speaks in a quorum, that's a big deal, and we're not really supposed to, speak other than as individuals. So we'll have to think about that, get good legal advice, but I'm sure we can do better some way. But it may not be something simple. We've got to meet legal requirements and get the information out and receive information. Got to be two ways. So I saw that. To be honest, I've recently been following the Facebook without going on board, and saw that there is what I would call a starvation for information. I'm not sure how we can do that, but I think without further inflaming difficulties, but we've got to figure it out. So
I
Tim,
don't think Facebook is the medium we want to use. But
yeah,
maybe it's as simple as putting the minutes in a more visible place.
Sure. Let's,
Um,
what I'm going to suggest, let's table this from now. It's a very good suggestion. It needs to be done. We need to warn it so people can come and be part of that collective wisdom on how we do it. And then after we figure it out, we need to implement it. But I don't think we can do it here on the fly, but it's an excellent suggestion for improvement that we should take very seriously. So Victoria, if you could put that warned on the future, I think we'll probably need at least, 1 or 2 meetings to get that together, and we'll advise on that later. So okay. What I didn't want to do, and I did, was prescribe a solution before we understood the problem. I shouldn't have done that. Thank you, Stuart. All right, the next item, the select board meeting rules of procedure. I think to continue with the rules as instituted, it's served us reasonably well. I do with the advisor, we're post-COVID. We need to get information and allow more listening session and participation in special meetings with the town as we did prior to COVID. But that really doesn't affect the rules of procedure. Any discussion on select board meeting rules of procedure?
That's what you, Victoria sent us, the document, we need to sign it.
Right.
Yes.
I make a motion, we approve the rules of procedure that's submitted by Victoria.
We got a question.
I have just a question, point of information. As some of you may recall, at one of the ATV meetings, I was told to stop talking about my views on it because there was a rule that you can't talk about someone if they're not present in the room. And I'd like to know that if that is officially in your board policy. I talked to the Secretary of State, his office, and they said it's absolutely not in Vermont statute, it's not in the open meeting law. And so I would like some information as to how that came about. Chris, you were the person who said that I couldn't talk because I happen to disagree, I guess. Felt threatened.
Okay, thank you for that input. We'll take it under advisement and get back to you. Victoria, make sure you have that as a note that we owe a response on the particular incident.
And if you're feeling particularly inspired and civil, an apology might be in order if it's not really in your written rules.
Okay, thank you again. All right, next item, highway matters.
Okay.
We want to vote on the rules.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We do need to vote on the rules. Thank you very much. The motion's made. Is there a second?
There was a second, or I'll
Okay.
second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, hearing none, all in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, highway matters.
Okay. There's a lot here. I can kind of get back to you on. I think last year,
We're picking up background conversations on Zoom.
somebody's talking, who's, I don't know who it is. Anyways, Chris, mud season posting last year, I think we decided we should do it. We had Walter do it.
Yes. Any negative consequences from that?
I did hear from Stuart Ketchum, he wanted one on the beginning and ending of the Pepperell Road, the class 4.
Okay.
No motorized vehicles during the mud season.
Okay. So is it okay for John to relay that to Walter? Okay.
Any other discussion, board members? The problem, I'm getting a lot of static on Zoom right now, so if I move too quickly, somebody say, so, okay, I see Jerry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, John just is making me nervous here. We post the roads for weight, but now we're talking about closing Pepperell Road. Is that the same thing or is that different? And do we have the authority to close it during mud season?
Well, I thought we were discussing posting the roads for weight. Victoria, were you going to interject?
So it is two slightly different discussions. The state of Vermont allows the roads to be posted for a prescribed season with a defined start and end date. What we've heard about Pepperell is that it stays muddy longer than what the state prescribes. So there was a request to post Pepperell separately for a longer period, which is a different discussion. This would just be abiding by the state's allowance of posting the roads for the mud season.
Yeah, I'm prepared to vote on posting the roads for mud season. I think the board would need to look into a bit longer Pepperell Road. Thoughts from other board members?
I agree, it's two separate, but as far as mud season posting, I'm for it. Demi will fight me to the wall with this one, but I think it's a good thing to do. And at this time of year, they've got a lot to do, so if Walter can do it, it'd be wonderful, if we don't mind.
Did we get signs made, Victoria?
We get the signs from the AOT district.
Okay.
And I did check with Demi, he still has them on hand from last year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Daisy, Chris?
Okay, Daisy, I see your hand up. Thank you.
Hi, so I just wanted to say with the prior experience, Pepperell has been okay. It's a really short road off of Button Jigger and then Pepperell. I don't see a huge need for an extension, but I drive it every week. So maybe ask me in another 2 months, but right now I can't see that that's a highly traveled road because it's just a few houses up there. It's not like it's a main intersection, like you're going up Button Hill or you're going up Waterman or a road like that. You know, there's no through traffic there. Just throwing my thoughts out there to you guys.
I think the concern is the class 4 part of Pepperell Road, which is, if it's not closed, it gets traffic from off-road vehicles.
It does, and it tends to.
I didn't- how does it get from off-road vehicles if off-road vehicles aren't allowed on our town roads?
No. Off-road vehicles are allowed on class 4 roads. Like.
And
Jeeps.
Pepperell is considered a class 4?
I think a section of it, correct?
Yeah, there's a section where the houses are, and then it turns into a class 4 and goes over to McIntosh Pond.
I think what's going on is that the damage during mud season carries on for a longer period of time.
So they shouldn't be allowed on a certain section. So pretty much people are breaking the law.
No, that's why we're discussing it.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah.
I think, how does this sound? This is something that I think we all need to go up and have a little field, some of us need to have a little field trip, see exactly what we're talking about. I hear some wisdom coming from the town with Daisy here and just see what is the problem. Who proposed the closure?
Stuart Tetcham, who lives on it.
A neighbor, yeah.
Okay, well, let's get his concerns. Let's take in, combine what Daisy has to say and put it on for a longer discussion. So we can do it justice and not try to squeeze it in today. Any objections to that?
No, but let's come back to it.
Yep. Victoria, if you can put it on for the next board meeting, if it's not too full, we probably need to deal with this quickly.
Will do.
Thank you.
Certification of compliance, Chris?
Yes.
I'm unsure of.
Okay.
Victoria?
So we're required each year by April 1st to submit various information to V-Trans. One of those is a certification of compliance with our road and bridge standard. We updated our road and bridge standards in 2021. They are still Orange Book and V-Trans compliant. So we're just looking for a motion from the board to certify that we are following our own road and bridge standards, which comply with the state standard.
I would make that motion.
I would second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Thank you. Pavement marking.
Is this for downtown parking and traffic? I'm assuming.
It is
It is?
not,
Okay.
but we can talk about that also. So V-Trans does all of the road line marking. They are only doing center lines, but they also ask us to let them know what we have going on for road work so that when they schedule their subcontractors, they can time everything out for when people expect various roads to be worked on. So the question is kind of twofold about what we have to submit. Tim, I know you were going to look at North Road and Pleasant South Street Oxbow. I think that was the only pavement work we were considering.
So I met with Chris Bump yesterday and his assistant, whose name escapes me. And I met and Demi, and we looked at the North Road for the paving grant. And just a quick roundup is we traveled the North Road. It definitely qualifies, goes without saying. So he tasked me with, Chris Bump tasked me with getting a couple of bids, one from Pike and one from probably Blacktop, with recommendations.
Are you done?
He also recommended how much our grant should be for, how much we should apply for. He will help walk us through it. I contacted Pike and I told him it's time sensitive because we have to have it in by April 15th. So I told Pike that they needed to have it to me or Victoria or us by the end of March. So it might be some spots get like ground down that everything's gone, shimming, compaction. there's an estimated 20 culverts in the 2.4 miles. And a third of them we're gonna say need to be replaced. And we would like it to be a turnkey project, not interacting with our town crew, because that would be, then it's a timing issue if we're in the middle of a ditching project that we still have to do this summer. So between Chris Bump, Demi and Victoria and I, we will, I called Pike as soon as I got home, the same guy who ran this project out here, who set up his job trailer. He's was gonna get back to me, I don't know, by the end of the week to say they're going out to look at it. Some might not need as much work. The last time we did this, I think 20 years ago, when we ground the whole thing down and like right down to nothing, bulldozed it, and then resurfaced it, those sections, there's one section that's still in pretty good shape, so it doesn't require that much, but some of it requires a lot. We're gonna have to kick, Victoria updated me on, while I was looking at the job, updated me with what's in the budget. We're definitely gonna have to use some of our paving money because just because it's 2.4 miles. And they figure it by the ton, and it's usually pretty darn close. But seeing as how it's a petroleum product, it's tied to markets. So I'm working on it, and I'll work with Victoria to get our grant application in by April 15th or before.
Tim, that sounded like an extraordinary list. Do you have the resources and the time to do all that? That's a lot.
No. Do I have a choice?
Quit being honest.
But he's not the chair anymore, so.
I'm not the chairman. And yeah, that does help. And he mentioned the paving marking. Thank you, Victoria. We simply can't do all of what we need to do. And this grant only covers class 2 roads, which is North Windsor, the North Road, and some obscure little pavement on Broadbrook that's in between two gravel roads. So
I know it well.
and he said, do not submit fragments, submit a solid one. So I think the North Road's the top candidate
For paving.
for paving. The other thing about North Windsor is that we're gonna have to interact with a lot of things like catch basins, culverts, and other things like that. And the new sidewalk project. So that's gonna take a little bit more work. And I'll be happy to do it, but I'd like to get this paving grant in first.
Okay.
South Pleasant Street and South, Pleasant Street's awful.
Yeah.
So anyways,
But this is beyond marking. Marking is a separate,
yeah, Mark,
putting a center line.
if we get this grant, they will hold off marking till it's done.
Got it.
They can put that into their thing, and as long as we're talking about marking, I will call, Demi has asked that we subcontract the marking for the painting for parking, crosswalks and other things. Is he's got a brand new crew. It used to be they could roll out, they were pretty efficient at it. With the ditching and other projects that we have going on, he would prefer, if I can get in the queue, that we sub that out.
Any idea of the cost? Do you have that within your budget?
It's gonna have to be, I think we're okay. So I think we're okay. They're gonna be much better at it.
Okay, yeah. All right, any further discussion on the pavement marking? And Victoria, do you have what you need to respond?
Yes, thank you.
A couple things. I don't know exactly what the financial report is unless you're talking about, do we have enough money to augment the paving grant, but I think we do.
No, So the financial report is another required annual submittal to V-Trans. Because we receive state highway monies, we send a portion of our budget, we have to send back to the state and let them know how we're spending our budget. As part of that, we have to certify that the town of Royalton is raising at least $300 per mile of road by taxes. For reference, in Royalton, that amounts to about $26,000 that we have to be raising by taxes. So I just need the board to certify that we are appropriately raising taxes to pay for our roads.
I would make that motion.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. V-Trans annual submittals. Victoria, do you have what you need? I think you do.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. ECI request, 4,000 yards of sandy gravel.
So,
So-
ECI is working on the Vesper Road underpass. And they came and took a sample from a pile behind the town office and had it spec'd. They'd like 4,000 yards of that material to support the Vesper underpass, the railroad underpass project. Demi mentioned that he had a pile of crushed gravel out back that he is not willing to part with. But I'm unclear which pile they sampled from. So Demi said if it's bank run, fine. But if it's crushed, he can't afford to part with it.
They will buy it from us as a state project?
Yes, there would need to be an agreement. Yeah.
I think with our Act 250, basically we own a quarry. With our Act 250 permit, I'm not sure that we can sell. I would like to check
Really?
that. No, I think that we would have to get a credit. I'm not 100%.
Very good point.
But I remember when I first came on the board, I looked a lot into that. It's a mining operation. So
That's always been a discussion. And I think we've always worked things in trade when we've done that on a limited basis.
So how many yards in a dump truck?
Depends on the size of the truck.
Well, I'm sure it does. I mean, what is 4,000 yards?
it's a lot.
Yes.
Size of this building?
It's probably 200 trucks. I don't know what it is.
That's all I want to know.
200 truckloads?
200.
Yeah, 200 truckloads. I would agree with that. When I recently did the hard pack on my driveway, 10 yards did a lot. I mean, it was a big truck. So not a semi trailer, but it was a big dump truck.
So we're gonna come back to this.
I think we have, one way or the other, I think we should give them the material. How the transaction happens should be vetted better. That's my recommendation.
Okay.
With this blessing though.
With
So-
Dennis blessing.
If it's something we're interested in exploring, is it acceptable if I speak with ECI and come back with more specifics on which pile they actually sampled from, and what is permissible, and we'll address at the next meeting with a firm proposal?
Perfect.
Yep. Agree.
And while we're on ECI, I neglected to give them 2 lines. We had received from Ben McKinney an updated estimate for the steel work on Bridge 31, that they had initially expected about $80,000 in steel work, but now they're anticipating around 92. And so they were proposing a contract amendment, and also brought up again if we wanted to strike having ECI replace the deck boards that were worn from the contract, which would equalize, a little more than equalize, the increase in the steel work.
We always thought our crew could put the deck boards on for a lot less money than they would do it, didn't we?
Yeah, I would like to weigh in and say, the steel submittals were kind of interesting because they gave me all the shop drawings. And, I don't know exactly what I'm looking at because I don't know where the pieces are going and they're spec'd out. I think we should, eat the upcharge and I recommend that we let them replace the deck boards. I think, sourcing, frozen hemlock and installing it's a bad idea. That's just my opinion. I feel strongly that the deck has lasted only a year in spots.
Was that a motion?
Yeah, that's a motion. I
I'll
guess.
second it.
Okay, just before we move further, Daisy has had her hand up for quite some time. And before we go, Daisy, does your comments bear on what we're discussing? Or can it wait?
I don't see you're online anymore, Chris.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You've got it, Tim. All right, next item. No parking zone elimination, Route 14.
Victoria, this one's yours.
Oh, sure. Marcos Miller, who is the traffic engineer for V-Trans, sent us an email asking if the town of Royalton would find it acceptable to get rid of the no parking zone on Route 14 that's located near Village Pizza. I guess at one point there was a different business in that location that drew truck traffic without sufficient parking. And so that no parking area was installed sometime in the 70s. They think it no longer serves a purpose and would like to eliminate it. But they're looking for your okay to do that.
I wasn't aware there was a no parking sign there, but
Yeah, I didn't.
it was probably when it was the diner.
Yeah.
Right, I think so. Yeah. I'd make the motion that we approve them, removing the parking ban.
I'll second that.
Now, there was some mention in that about Eaton's as well. Is it for both sides of the road?
I think it's just on the Eaton side or on the uphill side of the road, whatever that is, the north side.
Yeah, I think Jerry's correct.
Okay.
My memory of the pictures was that, and all right. Here's Daisy again. She had her hand up for quite some time. I did. Daisy, your hand is up. Is this on what we're talking now or something previous?
Oh, well, I got kind of kicked out of the previous one. I just want to say a dump truck carries 10 to 14 yards. But anyhow, now moving on to this. Actually, the no parking signs, it's a traffic ticket. It doesn't hold against your CDL or anything else. So nobody obeys the no parking signs anyhow, all the way down to where M&N used to be. It is now like Maple Woods or Maple Fields.
That one is a dangerous, that's a dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous. And nobody obeys it. Big trucks come out of there because I come off Waterman Road every day. They park right there. You can't see. So who cares about a no parking sign? It's not a offense that you can be held accountable for anyway. It's a traffic ticket.
So that's not the one they're talking about.
Can somebody turn off their background?
I think it's,
Thanks.
Because they're just asking for it on Route 14
right,
and
right.
Maple Fields is on 107.
But Chief noted that.
It is on Route 14 and Maple Fields is on 107, but who cares about a no parking sign? Is that a huge issue in town?
No, it's the state.
It's the state issue, yeah.
Yeah.
Daisy, it's part of what we're supposed to be looking at. And let's separate the two issues if we can. Let's deal with the Route 14 and then let's put on a further agenda for the 107. And let's look at that. Are there better ways to try to control that parking? I don't think there are. And I think the state is being nice. We no longer have justification for, placing signage on the road. So they're asking us to match reality. That's the way I read
Yeah,
it.
I totally agree. They should just remove the one on 14 because it really does not affect anybody. Like
Okay.
if a big truck parks there or a car, nobody with a CDL gets any extra fines for a traffic ticket, for
Okay.
a parking ticket. They're totally a
Okay.
miss. I mean, it's not a thing. So why
Okay,
is a
Daisy, I
no
think we're
parking
ready to
sign
take
on
this.
Route 14 an issue?
Yeah,
'Cause
I think we're ready to take this to vote.
Sure.
Motion was made and seconded. And you want to remind us of your motion again?
Just to eliminate the no parking signs on Route 14 per the state's request, or to grant them the authorization to remove them.
Okay, motion was seconded. Any further discussion from the board?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, so signify by saying aye, raise your hand. All opposed, any opposed? Motion carries. And thank you, Daisy. And when are you running for the select board?
I'm pretty sure you don't want me to, honey, but
Tony did once, and I wanted him.
he did, but nobody knew his name and didn't vote for him.
I voted for him.
But I appreciate you folks listening to me.
Okay, we need to push through some things. So if we have Act 250 gravel extraction expires in 2024. Tim, have you got that one?
No, Victoria, we need to act on this, and she put it on, so it's on our radar screen early and often, and I appreciate that.
Did you get the report back from our sand and gravel?
Oh, yeah, the report back from the sand and gravel, I got today very late in the day, and what I asked for, they asked for a couple clarifying questions, and I'll share them. I'll be happy to share it with you. What I asked was, could you compare what we have to the ideal sort of recipe? And so I emailed that back at about 4 o'clock, 4:30 today. So I don't have.
You haven't had time to look at it then, I'm sure.
They will put it in that format. So, because right now, I don't understand it.
Okay, let's table it and move on then. And so Victoria, if you could put that in the next appropriate spot, that would be great. Overweight permits, I guess they're on the table there. Has anybody got to look at them?
I'm doing them right now. Great.
All right. Town meeting follow-up. Town manager, I would like to look at a process of how we receive information, provide information, and allow the town to become comfortable with whatever direction the town wants to go. That's going to be more than just one meeting, but I think it's something we need to work at piecemeal all the rest of the year until the next vote. One thing I did notice that the budget was approved, but the position was not. So it appears to me that tells me something. I'm not sure what, but we need to socialize that and explain it as we saw at the pre-town meeting, and make sure that people have a good understanding of the puts and takes of the town manager. Does anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, I do. I'm first of all not advocating that we change town meeting, but we have an opportunity, having done Australian ballot for a couple of years, to look at the votes that are done on the floor versus by Australian ballot and think about how well the town is represented both ways. And just kind of analyze that. And maybe that will make us feel either better or worse about town meeting. And I'm not against town meeting, but it feels like we have a chance to look at some data that we don't normally get. And we should put a little time into that.
Yeah, I think that as we mold that into engagement with the town in listening sessions and discussions and helping them understand the pros and the cons and where it will take us, I think all that could come together. A town meeting is an emotional issue, and it's something we'll have to handle very carefully. Although I think we did see a larger voter turnout in Australian ballots. So somewhere there's a good balance, there's a good solution. I'm just not sure what it is, and we need to find it. So Constable, we kind of skipped over that one.
I think all of these are good topics. And maybe we should have this sort of summer-long community chats about what these things are. Bring them in as a potluck dinner or something where people come together and talk about the pros and cons of town manager, constable, town meetings, and voter turnout. There's a whole series of discussions.
I think that's great.
Yep.
Two things I would like, I think that some towns went to a hybrid, and I think we should look at a hybrid. Some were Australian and some was a traditional town meeting.
It's sort of what we have now
Yeah.
with Australian ballots for elected officers.
Yeah.
And lastly, somebody said, I heard people say that they weren't against the town manager, they just, maybe, like John said, that kind of outreach and possibly a committee to say, what does it look like? Because the job description that they didn't understand is pretty, I don't want to say it's boilerplate, but I rolled it out terribly. That's.
Yep.
And
Well, no, we all learned some lessons there. I think that's the real thing. And I think we will make sure that we bring along as many people who want to accompany us on that look next time. And Jojo, I see your hand up.
I had to unmute, sorry. I wanted to remind you folks that at the meeting, I believe you said that the budget for the town manager would be taken off the budget and not spent if it didn't pass. And I just heard you a few minutes ago saying that that the town manager vote didn't pass, but the budget did. And you have to remember, there was no discussion and no opportunity to amend the budget down.
Right.
I look at it, we'll have a budget surplus of $120,000.
No, you said you'd take it off.
No, we need to look at that very carefully. And I think, and I believe that we need to watch that. We're going to talk about that, but I believe we need to watch that. And although that money will be a surplus, it's not something that I believe the board has a moral authority to spend. And any board members disagree with that?
Jerry has.
I don't disagree, but I would think maybe Victoria could have the last word on this.
Victoria, over to you.
To the best of my knowledge, and I have not reached out to VLCT since town meeting, but I believe that we are obligated to raise by taxes the amount that was approved by the voters. Because the town manager form of government is a separate question from the general fund budget. I can reach out to VLCT and see if we are allowed to raise less, but I'm not sure if we're able to do that or not.
In any event, that 120 plus is not something that the voters said they wanted. And I think it would be unwise, my perspective, and maybe I'm going a little early here, unwise to spend it without voter concurrence. But let's find what the rules are. Let's find what the rules are. And Daisy,
Hi. Okay, so as a friend, as a community member, I just want to let you folks know that sometimes a lot of our community members feel like they are kept in the dark about what is happening. And I know they don't come to meetings. I know they're not on Zoom, so on and so forth, but they think a lot of information is not being put out there to them. And they think you guys are hiding stuff, which I know you're not, but I just want to make you folks aware of that.
thank you, Daisy. And we had that message also. And I think you're going to see a listening session, socialization session, and that's some way. I don't think the town can afford to serve a roast beef dinner, but something, something that allows people forewarned, separate from standard select board meetings, that discusses these topics and socializes them through committee development once we have them. We haven't put together what that's going to be yet, but that's something we will do. So unless board members, am I speaking for you inappropriately?
It sounds like what we talked about.
Sounds like we have $120,000 worth of pot roast we can.
No, sir. We did.
As long
No.
as you buy it from RB's, we're all good.
Oh, no. Well, it didn't take long for me to completely lose control, did it?
Sorry, Chris, I apologize.
Okay, all right, so I think we should quickly get together what those specific town meeting follow-ups are. Certainly town manager, constable, Werner Tona, and any of these other topics. I think one of the topics we heard that I'd like to put in that socialization, advice and consent of the town is, what are we going to do now that our judicial system has a no bail ROR, and we're going to see a lot more repeat challenges, because those people used to be in jail because they couldn't post bail. That's no longer state policy, and we may see more incidents. So we're going to have to see what we can do in order to reduce the risk for our town members and bring Royalton to what it should be. So I think that should be on there as well. And that is going to be a matter of interaction with the state, with our town, with other PDs. A lot of things are happening. I heard discomfort with all kinds of things from dispatch on down. Part of that is, that we're changing dispatch challenges or an issue, or providers, excuse me. And there's a lot there. And I think to get that information rolled out appropriately is going to take a lot of effort too. So if people are comfortable, let's move on to approval of the minutes for February 14th and the 28th.
Mr. Chair, I would move we accept the minutes of February 14 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, is signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. How about the minutes for the 28th?
I wasn't here, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the 28th.
Motion made, is there a second?
Me?
Motion made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm just going to abstain because I wasn't there.
Understood. Motion carries, one abstention. Approval of the warrants.
The warrants look wonderful.
Very well.
I'd move we approve them.
Yeah, motion made. Did you hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, other business.
Yeah, just health officer Peter didn't stay. we issued, beginning of March or end of, February, a few, one is I have to schedule a septic. I'm 99% sure it's failed. I'm gonna do a test with the state, so I need to do that. And one, we have somebody who was supposed to be moved. We gave them 30 days to move. They're basically squatting and we just gotta follow up to see if that's happened. It sounded like it was, they were doing well and that was gonna be the case. But I would like to do, I'd like to give you some feedback the next meeting to just tell you, what our findings were. And, yeah, that's it, sorry. There's a liquor license, there was a late ad, apologies.
Arby's and the deli and tobacco for Arby's.
Yeah, there are long reports this time.
I say we deny it, Daisy.
Oh, Victoria's got her hand
Oh,
up.
Victoria, I see your hand up.
Yeah, it's alcohol and tobacco for Arby's and alcohol for the co-op as well.
Make a motion, we approve the liquor licenses.
And
Motion
tobacco.
made. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
liquor and tobacco.
Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so I think we may be done.
No,
No, we're not. Can I just, a couple of really quick things, Chris? We have to face the reality, if we're gonna try to get together with people in town and discuss things, we're gonna have some extra meetings. And we've talked before about planning meetings, and we had one, and then we just never got past that, but we just have to find some time to have meetings and commit to once a quarter or something. Or nothing's ever gonna happen.
Very wise.
On the rescue front, we don't feel that we want to go forward with architectural plans and getting firm quotes until we know we have a place to put a building. So we sent around a while ago a memorandum of understanding. Can we dust that off and can we discuss that at our next meeting? And at the same time, can we consider as a select board writing a letter of support that would be helpful to the USDA loan that we're applying to?
Any objections?
No, I think it should be on the agenda.
Without objection, motion carries. So that will be on the next agenda. Victoria, can you make it so?
Chris, can we have a couple of conversations we need to have about personnel and vacation time and requests. Can we have an executive session in the next meeting to maybe?
Yep. Amen. Amen. I concur. Executive session to discuss personnel issues on the next. Yes, Jerry.
I think we're good, but do we need an executive session to discuss the Moses Lane any further?
I think we're good as well. I still need to come up to speed. We had a brief from the VSP and our patrol. There are some issues in the work, but we don't know whether or not they are legal and affordable yet. So
Okay.
We'll know next time whether or not those potential local and more widespread mitigations are possible. And I'd rather know before we discuss it.
I move we adjourn.
I have a couple questions, being the new guy. Mostly maybe for Victoria. I got the message about the training on the 25th.
Pays for it.
Yep.
Town.
Yeah, I know that. I thought that was gonna be.
No, there's another online training and I don't know if it's an overlap or if it's a different kind of training, but it's an online session and it's a $75 fee, and I looked it up through VLCT. So have you guys done those? or-
I've done trainings. I've gone in person to one in Rutland, some in Montpelier.
The in-person one is on the 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I did it when I first came on. I really front loaded a bunch of those.
But I'm wondering if the online training is the same thing or if it's a different.
I don't know.
And I didn't.
That one wasn't being done by the league, was it?
I thought it
There-
was.
Yes, they're both by the league. Stuart, I admit that I skimmed, but my understanding was that the online was like a recap offering of what was happening in person, but I can find that information out and I'll
Yeah.
let you know.
Yeah, that, and Stuart, I was surprised at how valuable that was when I've gone to them.
Well,
And it's a great networking opportunity as well. So,
I'm
and
planning to
besides
go-
that, you're gonna come back and square us away, so.
That's what the BTC.
I'm planning to go to the one on the 25th. I just,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about the other one.
Yeah.
Whether, I don't want to waste,
Yeah,
time.
oh, sure. Great
Um,
questions, great questions. And I'd like to know too, Victoria, I'm sure you can, I have 5 takeaways from the public in general that we need to answer. So Victoria, if we could discuss tomorrow my notes and your notes to make sure that all of our, due outs are covered, that we said we get back to people on, okay?
Yep.
All right, I believe the motion was made to adjourn to, yes, sir.
Chris, I just want to comment that I heard a comment on Oklahoma, and somebody said, what do you think? What was your first impression of Oklahoma? And the person said, it looked abandoned.
Oh,
I don't
well, that, I will say that, the trees are a lot smaller than I remembered them, having lived in Vermont for an extended period of time. So the things that we used to call trees would probably be called big bushes in Vermont. So, but I will say, whenever you grow up somewhere, it's always, reaffirming and reassuring to come back and walk it, and particularly seeing family again. I had forgotten for many years how important greater family is, and it's good to get back in touch for something other than a tragedy, which unfortunately is what we've done before. But we all made it a point to get together for a good reason, not for a tragedy, and it was well worth it. So anyway, I'm really grateful and humbled and a little bit concerned about moving forward. I think we've got a very challenging year ahead, and I think we're absolutely up to it, and I'm very grateful for everybody's moving this forward. Okay, without exception, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Safe travels home, Chris.
Thank you.
Stay away from the
Thank you.
tornado.
Rattlesnakes.
Rattlesnakes, yeah.
On a day